welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so excited to be finally doing this. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Christine. I live in Northeast Pennsylvania in 40 Fort with my husband and our youngest son. And the reason I wanted to do this channel was for two reasons. First of all, we bought this house in November of 2018, so we're coming up on 3 years, and I really wish that I had done this when we first bought the house, because I would love to have a video diary of everything that we've done so far. We've done, a lot of stuff in the last 3 years, and already I can hardly remember how it used to be. So I wanted to do a video diary going forward so that I don't forget everything that we do from this day forward. And the other thing was to share with people, because when I'm out in the garden, people stop by all the time and say how much they appreciate the house and the garden and what we've done. And I think people love seeing progress and change. And so I want to share that with everybody. So that's the second reason, is to just share. So when we bought this house 3 years ago, I am a real estate broker. My husband's a real estate appraiser, and we have our own little agency in Kingston, Pennsylvania, which is right up the road from where we live. And when I first came to know about this house, it was because I was helping the owners at the time look for a home of their own. And they had lived here for a number of years, and we had looked for houses casually for years, and got to know them, got to become friends. They were just a great couple, and they had a little daughter, and they were looking for their next house. And so finally, after years of casually looking, they finally decided, like, this is it. We definitely are serious. We want to find the next house. So I said, great. I came over, I toured the house, I did a comparative market analysis, gave them a number of what I wanted to list it at, and that is exactly what they had thought that they wanted to list it at as well. So we were in complete agreement. And we didn't put it on the market right away because they did want to find a house that they wanted before they put this one on the market. So we started looking in earnest and found them a fantastic house out in Dallas, just a fantastic house. And so then once we found the house, then they said, okay, let's list the house. Well, around about that time, we had been renting for a while, and we had thought that we were definitely ready to buy a house, and we wanted to move from out in the country to downtown here because it would just be better for our family situation and our work situation. And so when it got to be time to list this house, I said to my husband, I said, we really should go and take a look at Aaron and Willie's house, because I think that could be a good house for us. And when you're getting ready to list something as a broker, you're not looking at it the same way as if you're looking at it for yourself. And so my husband and I came, and I looked at it with fresh eyes, and boy, this house had so much of what we were looking for, and so many things really fit the way we live and what we liked to do and how just our lifestyle. So I said, I think we really would do well with this house. So we offered them, the list price of what we were going to list it for. And so they were happy with that. They got their list price. And so we bought the house November 15th of 2018. And the next day we jumped on a plane and went to visit my brother and sister-in-law in Florida for 10 days. So I had lined up for people to come and work on the house while we were gone. So we had some painting done and carpeting removed and some wood floors redone. So we had some things all done by the time we got back from Florida. And we moved in 2 weeks before Christmas. So we did a lot of things inside first, of course, but we also did a lot of things outside. And that is like my realm. I love, love, love to garden. And it was just really fun to let my creative juices go and just do what I wanted with this garden. So what I'd like to do is take you on a full garden tour and show you the things that I changed since we moved here, plans that I have for the future, and some immediate projects that I want to start getting going on. So with that being said, come on, let's go. Okay, so I'm going to start the tour out here at the front. When we bought the house, it looked very different. I'm going to insert a photo of how it looked before. It was like a creamy pale yellow, and it had a white wall in the front here, and the stairs were like a terracotta color. So I'm going to insert that photo now so you can get an idea of what it looked like. All right, so we decided that we wanted to change the color, and my husband and I decided we wanted to go with a blue, and the color we chose was a Sherwin-Williams color, and it's called Naval. And we were really excited to know that after we had had the house painted, our painters informed us that that color was chosen by Sherwin-Williams to be the color of the year for 2019. So, was it 2020? I think it was 2019. So anyway, we were really happy to have validation on our choice of color. So the two trees that you're seeing here is the one on the right is on the tree line, and that is a ginkgo tree. And then of course we have the beautiful weeping willow tree. And I refer to this house as the willow house because of that weeping willow tree. And it was quite a bit smaller, even just 3 years ago. It's really grown a lot. And I just absolutely love it. The first thing that I did was put in some flower beds. I think there might have been like a little strip of flowers down each side. I really don't remember. And the photo that I put on the screen earlier was actually the next year, and I'd already started putting my flower beds in. But there was, you know, a little bit of plantings. But what I wanted to do is widen them. And so this one on the right-hand side, I took out and swept up and around. And we don't have a very wide lot here. It's a nice corner lot. I love it. But it's not real wide. It only comes over, you'll see our sidewalk here. We only own about a foot off of that sidewalk. So what I did is I made a wider sweeping border that came down to the wall. And so that way I had a nice bigger planting area. And when I do my projects, I really like to repurpose materials if I have stuff on hand. And so I was able to repurpose, the former owners had used a lot of these pavers, and unfortunately this is one of the immediate projects that I'm going to put on my list for the next video, and that is to edge this out because this grass is really growing over the pavers and you can't see them really well. But it's a nice paver border. I like to have a nice tidy border between the grass and the flower beds, so I really do like these pavers. So put in this paver bed, and then over here on the other side I wanted to have something that was not exact but kind of mirrored it. And as I said, the willow was smaller, and the previous owners had had a paver bed around it. It was smaller, and it was like 2 or 3 tiers high with the pavers. And so what I did is I took it apart and enlarged it and made the pavers kind of sweep down to the wall here so that I had a little bit more of a planting area. So that was one of the first things that I did. So this concrete slab is the most recent project that I just had done. And previously there had been pavers here, not the full area that this concrete slab covers, but it was maybe a 2.5, maybe 3 foot space. And the grass was growing up in between, and I just didn't feel it looked very nice. And I didn't feel the scale was big enough. So I had the concrete guys pull them out, and they poured a really nice clean slab of concrete here, so it's nice and wide, and it's a great entry into the house now. So I really like how this looks. So that's the most recent thing. Another immediate project that I have to deal with is, as you can see, the paint is wearing off of the stairs. Even though this is only, you know, about 2 years old, it just does not stay. So I need to clean this, and I need to, you know, scrape and paint these stairs. We are going to have in the next 2 weeks some railings put in here. So they're going to be the nice vinyl Williamsburg style of railings that are going to come down here. So that'll just be very helpful for people trying to come and go from up and down our stairs. So as you can see up here too, so not only is the paint coming off of the concrete, it's also coming off of the stairs, the wood stairs, so I'm going to have to sand and scrape and paint those steps. So that's going to be one of the very next projects that I tackle. So just looking over here, I'm not going to go plant by plant as to what's in these beds, but a couple of things that I'm really excited about are these snakehead alliums. I love them. And it's a type of allium that blooms late summer. So they're already starting to bud out here. So cute. And then I'm going to get some more Stella de Oro lilies blooming here shortly, I think. These are beautiful yellow iris in the spring. And I really love the foliage of their leaves. So I really like to leave them just die off naturally. And, you know, when they start to get brown, I pull them out. But I leave the iris leaves because I think they're just such a pretty structure. This is one of the hydrangeas that I brought with me when we moved here. I brought 3 hydrangeas with us, and when we first moved here, I planted all 3 across this side here. We did not have the fountain at that time, but what I found is that this really was too sunny. Again, the willow was smaller, and so it did not cast as much shade as what this bed gets now. And those hydrangeas were just getting fried by the sun. They were so wilty all the time, and they just did not look good. So what I did is I moved them. I moved one over here, and then I moved 2 more over along the house, and they're all happy now. So back around to the front here, I've got beautiful Siberian iris. Oh my goodness, in the springtime, they are gorgeous. And then of course I have more of that beautiful old yellow iris. I've got some nice late summer bloomers going on here. Beautiful lilies. Echinacea. And I have these really cute cupcake butterfly bushes. Now these are supposed to get around 3 to 4 feet tall, and they don't seem to be growing that big. I mean, they're bigger. I put them in last year. They're bigger than they were last year, so maybe I just need to give it time. But I really had envisioned it kind of taking up this whole corner, and then I mirrored it over there in that corner. So maybe I just need to give them time to grow. I've also got some other varieties of iris down here that were given to me by my aunt that moved down here from Cape Cod. So I have to wait and see what they turn out to be because they haven't bloomed for me yet. Again, some Stella de Oro lilies here. And the echinacea. And I've got a hole just waiting for something exciting. So that's going to be on the shopping list. I'm going to do a shopping list of plants that I need to look for. So I want to get some sort of a nice shrub there. Maybe some sort of hydrangea that can handle the heat a little bit better than the varieties that I have. So I'm not sure. I have a couple different varieties of lilies in this bed, but this variety is just so pretty. I think it's Cherokee red or red Cherokee, something like that. But so pretty. And then the false sunflower. And one thing I do have to put on the shopping list is some supports. I would like them to not to be so drapey all over. In the middle of the bed here, I used to have my antique wheelbarrow here, but I moved it last year. And so that created a big hole here. And so I thought that I would put my Russian sage in here, because there were 3 Russian sage over here right along the porch, but they always got very long and leggy and laid down on the sidewalk, and I felt that they just looked messy. So I pulled them out this year, and it was a big trauma for them. There was 3 of them, and I put one in the middle here, and it seems to be bouncing back. This one actually is the one that's not looking as great as the other 2. I'll show you the other 2 in the back, and they look much healthier. But I believe it's going to be fine next year, and it's going to grow up and really fill in the center of this bed. I think it's going to be very beautiful. And then we have some black onyx and pearls here, and another down in the front. And I just love those seed pods. I leave them on until the fall, and I like to bring them in and put them in an arrangement in the fall, as well as the seed pods for the Siberian iris. They brown up and they look very cool, and it's just like a very interesting fall bouquet. So that's this front bed. There's kind of a view up to the porch. I have 2 hanging baskets. They're kind of hanging on. I'm starting to fertilize them a little bit to try to help them bounce back. I really should have been fertilizing them all summer, but I just didn't think about it. So I'm trying to limp them along and see if they will rebound. We'll see. So last summer, I love the sound of water in the garden. Oh my goodness, it's just so soothing to my soul. So last year, I got this fountain, which I just love. It's just such a sweet little fountain. So put that in the front here. And that's one of 3 fountains that I have in my garden. I'll show you the other 2. The other one's around the corner. I've really come to love a nice shade garden. And so that's in here. I have runnera, a number of different kinds of hosta, also different varieties of heuchera, and I love ferns. Oh my goodness, I have a couple different variety of fern. This fern and that fern there I brought with me when we moved here. I brought a lot of plants with me when we moved. Those are just, I don't know what the variety are. They were just wild out in the woods at our last house, and I brought those with me. I just love them. This little hosta is so tidy and just so clean and neat looking. This was a gift from my aunt, again from up in Cape Cod, and I just love it. Such a pretty variety. I don't know what it is, but that's one of my favorites. And then these big ones I brought with me. All of these plantings, I brought all of this with me and added to it over the years. I love this chartreuse hosta. And this fern I just put in this year. This is a northern maidenhair fern. And I just think that structure is gorgeous. And I don't know if you can see, but the stems are black. Black stems and beautiful, beautiful feathery green foliage. I think that is just stunning. So pretty. This little mum here, I have to move it because it's just, my husband came out and he said, "You're gonna pull that weed?" So I have to move that over by one of the other mums so it looks like something, because it looks pretty sad by itself. Look at that. The mixture of the color and the texture and the size. I just think that's so stunning. And then I brought my antique wheelbarrow. It used to be my mother-in-law's, and I just planted a beautiful basket in it this year, and it just went crazy. It just was so pretty, and I just love it. And it's sitting here on this paver little walkway here. This was here. This was put in by the previous owners, and so I pretty much left it untouched. But the edges are a little bit changed because, as I said, I made this one big sweeping bed out and around this willow tree, and so it's changed in shape a little bit. But I love that the moss is growing up between the pavers. I love moss. I just think it's so beautiful. So over here next to the hydrangea is another hosta that I brought with me. And here is another variety of fern. This is a ghost fern. I just think that is so pretty. Ugh, love my little ghost fern. And that has probably tripled in size since last year. Have another little heuchera here. Then some sedum back there. Another variety of sedum here. Some nepeta. And my second fountain. This is a total DIY fountain. The tub is actually a feed tub from when we had our farm, and you know, we had horses. We have just one horse now, and it's boarded, of course, because we live in town. But when we had our own farm and we had the horses at home, this was a big feed tub, and it's a big black rubber tub. And so I just dug a pit and I sunk it down and put these pavers around the outside and got a little fountain kit from Lowe's, and I just love it. And I don't know if we can see, but there is a little froggy living in the fountain this year. So cute. So around the fountain I have some green hosta, and oh, this hosta I just love. It's called Waterslide. Look at the structure of that. Isn't that beautiful? And look at the beautiful, beautiful blooms. Oh, I just think that's just so stunning. Love that. And you know, I moved it this year because it was over here right between these two hydrangeas, and it was just getting smothered out. It was never going to be able to be seen, so I wanted to move. So I just moved it over here because there was like a little space right by the fountain, and I put it in, and then I thought about it afterwards, how appropriate that Waterslide should live right next to the fountain. So anyway, these two hydrangea are just loving their life over here. They have been blooming beautiful this year, and they just have really put on a lot of growth. They're just doing so good. This azalea was a shrub that was here when we moved in, and it is so healthy and doing so well. In the spring, it is covered in the most beautiful deep pink blossoms. It's like a fuchsia pink. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So some more hostas and lilies. And this beautiful hydrangea was here when we moved here as well. And oh my word, this is such a beautiful variety. Such beautiful blossoms. Just really, really beautiful. Look at just the color on those blossoms. Oh, it's gorgeous. Very healthy, doing really well. This Ajuga I put in, was it a year ago? Last year. And it just really has taken off. And I actually pulled up a little piece, moved some over there so it would start taking off there. And then over here in this corner, we have a really pretty little lilac that gets beautiful lilac blossoms in the spring, in the very early spring. It's very pretty. And then this is a new hosta that I put in this year. It's called Praying Hands. Isn't that pretty? Just so pretty. I love that form. It's gorgeous. And then I have a little petite variety of Rudbeckia here. And that I just popped over there this year. It's been here. And it was actually right here, and it was getting eclipsed. And also I needed to put my foot there when I was getting the hose out of the hose bin, so it just was not an opportune spot for that little Rudbeckia. So I thought that I would move it over here. I'm not sure if it's gonna get enough light over here, but we'll give it a whirl, and it seems like it's doing much better here than it was over by the by the hose bin. So the fence we installed last year because living in a corner lot situation, you don't have a lot of privacy. And also I wanted to have a nice enclosed, safe yard so that we could let our dogs and our cats run free. So we put this fenced yard in last year, and oh my gosh, I just love it. What I'm not loving so much is just a few weeks ago I installed this little kind of apron area here because I was getting mud splatter up onto the gate, just like over there, which I just can't stand. But I don't like how it looks, so I'm going to redo that. So what I have in mind for that is to pull out the pavers here and start, you know, maybe around just past where the downspout lets out, and start to curve it around. I don't know. I want to do some sort of a nice, from that corner, a nice sweeping curve. I don't know, maybe it'll be over here that I start it. A nice kind of sweeping curve like this. So I'll have to see. I'm going to play around with that, but I just don't like how that looks. It looks nice on the inside of the fence, but outside I don't like it at all. So I'm going to be working on that relatively shortly. Around this tree, I installed another larger bed. I think there was a small, very small mulched ring bed around this when we moved in. So I made it, you know, probably 3 times or 4 times as large, and edged it in the pavers. And I edged out and created this nice sweeping border. I love a nice sweeping undulating line, and so I did that and edged it in the pavers as well. And that brings us back here to the fence. I'm just gonna look back over here. I love how that old-fashioned wheelbarrow looks with the flowers spilling out. It's so pretty. I just love that view. All right, so let's go back around and let's go into the back fenced yard, and I'll show you how that's shaping up. It was such a mess for so long. Oh my word, it was very sad. But it's taking shape now. It's actually coming together. And as you come in, you can see that I again continued with the pavers, doing the undulating flower bed borders. And that shed was not here when we moved in. It actually was in my son Christian's driveway of his house that he bought. Oh gosh, I think it's coming up on 2 years that he bought his house. And he really did not need it. He doesn't have a lot of stuff to store. And it's a very small house on a small lot. And when you had this in the driveway, you could only park 1 car. And so he just really didn't have much need for it. And so I said, Christian, can I buy that shed from you? And he said, oh, absolutely, I'll sell you that shed. So I was able to find a guy that professionally moves sheds and delivers sheds. And he was able to go down to my son's and pick it up and bring it here. And it was such a cool thing to watch because it was very specialized equipment. Because let me show you, I don't know if you could tell from before, but we're standing up pretty high above Murray Street on this side of the lot. Let me show you. I mean, it's a pretty steep little bank here. And so he had to have special equipment to deliver the shed, and he was just about able to get that up the hill. He said it was, he came and he looked at the job beforehand because I wanted to make sure that he could do it before I booked him. And he said, you know what, it's going to be tough. He says, I've never delivered to such a slope as this, but he said, I think I can do it. And his machinery was just able to do it. So he got it up here and leveled it up, and it was tan with brown trim. And so I wanted to match the house, so we painted it the same color as the house with the white trim, and I think it looks so adorable. and put in those 2 pots. Those are just plastic pots that I spray painted white and put in 2 beautiful hanging baskets of Calliope, oh my gosh, my mind is blanking out, geraniums. Calliope geraniums. And then I put in some daisies that were actually over here in this corner, but because we put the fence in, it really is very shady there, and those daisies need the sun. So I pulled the daisies out and divided them into 2 clumps, put them there, and that is a second clump of the Russian sage that used to be along the far side of the porch. And so you can see how nice this clump is doing. It's starting to flower, and it's just looking great. This is bouncing back. This is going to do really well. And then I dug up 2 clumps of dianthus that were out in the front that weren't doing well where they were at. Threw those back here. Put a hosta in the corner and some Easter lilies. Now what I do want to do is I would like to get 2 arbors, just the just the little arched arbors, and maybe grow some nice pink climbing roses. I think would be so cute on the side of that shed there. So that's thoughts for the future. And then over here I put this little shrub. Oh my gosh, I love this little shrub. It's Yuki Snowflake, and in the spring it puts out little white blossoms, and it was not doing well. I had it down in the front where the front concrete stairs are and the concrete wall, and I think that it was just too hot, and the soil just drained off, and it wasn't getting enough moisture, and I thought I killed it last year. And so I moved it late in the season last year, and I moved it again this year when I knew I was going to have this space. I knew it would do really well here, and it's doing great, so I'm super excited. This echinacea and that echinacea were over here, and I had planted them last year, and I put them in this bed here in front of the peonies, and when I planted them, they were small last year, so I wasn't keeping in mind how big they could get, and so they were so tall, like it was way too high for the front of the bed. I need to get something low in here, so that's got to go on the shopping list. I need to shop for some nice, pretty, colorful, low, 12 inches at the highest that can go in this area here. Because the other thing that I had in here, right here, was that Coreopsis over here, and so pretty. But again, I put it in last year, and it grew bigger than I expected, and it was flopping all over the sidewalk, and I just couldn't stand it. But it looks fantastic over here in this new bed. And same thing with this Genaflox. I planted them last year, and they were like maybe half the size, and again they were over there by the iris, just too high, and it just looked terrible. But I needed something over here that was gonna have some height, so it's perfect. And these little Genaflox were over there, and they were getting eclipsed by the peonies, and so I didn't even know they were there. And just this week I found them, and when I was cutting the peonies back a little bit, and so I pulled them out and put them there, and I'm not sure if they'll remain there, but for now they're good. And here's the little apron on the inside, which I am very happy with inside here. I think that looks really cute. And of course I have our 3-seater swing that I got from Lowe's, and I just think that that looks really cute. There's lots of room here for, I want to get some nice ground cover going underneath. Maybe I will get some of the Ajuga and start that back here. And I would actually like to get some sort of a smaller, taller, narrower tree to nestle in that back corner behind the swing. I can move the swing forward a little bit, but I would like to do a nice, really pretty specimen type of tree back there. So we'll see what I can find at the garden center. That's got to go on the shopping list. So again, because this installation of the fence made this little corner nice and shady, I put in some different varieties of hosta, and these are going to get bigger. And then I put in 3 cinnamon fern. Well, I thought they were 3 cinnamon fern, but now I'm thinking, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if, I don't know. Maybe they are all 3 cinnamon fern, but just the foliage looks different on this one in the back left. So I'm not sure, but regardless, it's more varieties of fern that I love and more varieties of hosta that I love. So it's really nice. And then this shrub, I have to find out and identify what this shrub is, because it just is such a beautiful shrub and it gets these beautiful blossoms. This is the second flush. In the springtime, this is completely loaded with the pink blooms, and it's just spectacular. It's nice now. It's getting the second flush. There's lots of buds on there, and it's going to be very beautiful. But in the spring, it's just, the first flush is gorgeous. And I did trim it up a little bit, and I want to start planting some things underneath and getting some nice ground cover underneath there. And I've got some nepeta here, some different varieties of lilies. Look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? So pretty. And look at this one. Oh, isn't that spectacular? And I just think it looks so great with the white daisies against the blue wall of the house. The color. And there are a couple other varieties of lilies in there that have passed already. But they're just phenomenal. And this actually is not living space. This used to be the garage to the house back in the day. And so it's attached to the house, but it's not currently living space. But I was thinking that I really want to replace this old window with a new window, and then have a matching window over here. And right where that hanging planter is, I would like to bring the fountain from around the front of the house and nestle that right underneath there. Move those daisies, put those maybe over here. We'll find a room for the daisies. But I can really picture the nice white fountain there and get some nice water feature back here. I think that would just be so beautiful. So, because I have my eye on a beautiful, oh gosh, like a pineapple fountain from Unique Stone, but I can't seem to find a dealer. So I'm still kind of on the hunt for that. But if I find one of those, I want to put that pineapple fountain in the front of the house, because our business's logo is the pineapple, because that is the symbol of hospitality. And I would love to have a beautiful pineapple fountain in the front of our house. So that's maybe next year. We'll see if we can find the pineapple fountain for the front, and then we'll bring that white one back here, move those daisies. And of course we have these pretty all yellow coreopsis and some more rudbeckia. And I love this variety of rudbeckia. They're kind of just like really spiky looking. So, and they're nice and tall, so there's more of them there. And these, of course, were peonies, and they were gorgeous in the spring. And more of my yellow iris, more rudbeckia. So this little patio space here, there's actually macadam underneath, because back in the day when it was a garage, this used to be the driveway. So the previous owners installed a nice little paver patio where, of course, we have our grill and we have our fence. Back in the day, the lot next to us was part of this lot, but the owner had subdivided it off so that his son could build a house next door. So there's no way to get access to this part of our property anymore. So it's just a nice paver patio, and I'm going to show you two things that are just the coolest things in gardening that have happened to me this year. First off is right here in this copper kettle. This is baby willow trees. And how this happened was at Easter time, I had in my dining room on the buffet a big white branch from that pretty berry tree in the side yard. And I had spray painted it white, and I had hung off of it all of the beautiful decorative Easter eggs. My aunt makes beautiful bejeweled Easter eggs that she has given me over the years, and so I hung those from this beautiful big sculptural white branch that I had nestled in a vase with white stones. And I wanted some more willowy texture, and so I really wanted pussy willows, but I just got busy and I couldn't have time to go to the florist to see if I could find pussy willows. So we had a windstorm the night before, and there was all kinds of branches blown off of the willow tree out front, and they were beautiful because they were all budding up and getting ready to leaf out. And I was like, oh, they kind of give the same effect as a pussy willow. So I gathered up these blown off willow branches and stuck them in a vase of water behind the Easter egg branch, and it just gave a beautiful big display. It was gorgeous. And so I left those willow branches in the vase with the water for weeks, not thinking anything about it. I think I might have replenished the water once, and unfortunately the leaves on those branches didn't bud out like I had thought. But darned if they didn't start rooting and pushing out new leaves from the stems. And parts of the they were very long willowy branches. Parts of them died back, so I trimmed them back. But look at this growth. There's basically in here, there is 3 new trees are growing in this pot right now. And I'm going to plant them on the property, and so I'm propagating willow trees. So that is the most amazing accidental gardening thing that's happened to me this year. And the other most amazing on purpose thing that's happened to me this year is this pot. Look at that monster. Oh my word. That is a combination of 2 baskets of flowers that my boys gave me for Mother's Day. There's Callie, one of our little dogs. And they are in a Proven Winners aqua pot. Now this whole thing is probably a good 3.5 feet tall. It's a big pot, a big arrangement. These Proven Winners aqua pots are amazing. They are very pricey, but they are amazing. I would highly recommend them, but I would definitely recommend that you not have them shipped to you. Get them from a dealer. And the reason being is I ordered 2 of these direct from Proven Winners, and it took forever for them to come, which was fine. I ordered them way in advance, but when they came, they were both smashed. And I was just heartsick because, I mean, these are very beautiful pots. I don't know if you can see the scroll work. They're beautiful. And so I contacted Proven Winners, and they were great to deal with. They were just wonderful. They refunded my money, but I was still sick, and I wasn't going to order 2 more because I knew that they would just get smashed in transit again. And there was nobody around that I could get them from directly, a dealer. So the one was absolutely smashed to smithereens. This one was smashed into like 4 giant pieces. And I don't know if you can see. I had it out on the curb, and I was going to throw it out, and I thought, I wonder if I could glue that thing. So I got Gorilla Glue, and I glued it, and then this spring, before I potted it up, I sprayed the inside with Flex Seal, and it has worked somewhat. It held water for a few weeks. Because what it is there's a water reservoir in the bottom, and it self-waters. It's just an amazing setup. But the pressure, I think, of the water and the soil, as you can see, like, you could clearly see, like, that crack is opening up, and it's not holding water. I don't know if I'm going to be able to save this pot. I might have just been lucky to get 1 season out of it. But I'll tell you what, this thing works like you wouldn't believe. It's an amazing pot. So I'm gonna see if I can possibly glue it up a little bit more and try to limp it by, but I might just have to throw it out after this season. But oh my gosh, yeah, the boys each gave me a basket of flowers, and I separated them each into two so that I had a clump of these on this side and on that side, and then the second basket was this purple, and then this flower, and so I had that here and here. And then for height, I put this red spike in the middle, thinking, oh, it's gonna be, you know, high enough. Well, as you could see, it has just enveloped that red spike is just not enough at all. So what I've decided is that next year I'm going to, if I'm able to save this pot, great. If not, I'm gonna find another one of these pots. I will figure it out. I'll travel if I have to, but I'm gonna get another one of these pots. They're amazing. I'm gonna plant a really high canna like I have over there. And actually, this is the first time I've ever tried cannas. And there are a number of additional plants popping up. So I'm going to dig these, I think they're tubers. I'm going to dig them up at the end of the season and read about how to store them properly. And then I'll have for not only along the fence next year, but also for in the pot over here for next year. So that brings us to our outside space. In the back, we have this beautiful two-tiered deck area off of our kitchen. And the third fountain that I have is up here. And I just got this fountain this year. And I just love it. I love the sound. And I love the dragonflies. I've got my ferns out here and two beautiful baskets that are doing well. And these ferns, I have 4 of them actually. There's 1, 2, 3, and then around behind the chairs here is the 4th one. And they were all one big fern last year, big Boston fern. And it was in its pot for the longest time, and I decided to split it. So I split it into 4 pots and wintered them over in the house, and they did fairly well, but by the end of the winter they were looking a little peaked, and so when I brought them out here this year, I cut them way back, and they have just been loving their lives. Like this little one, I had to cut it back so much, it was like there was barely like any life left showing. But I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna cut it back, and if they make it, they make it. If they don't, they don't. But they've been doing great. And there's our other little girl, Mia, my little Yorkie. And here I've got my herbs. Got beautiful basil. Got some really nice rosemary going there. And just, yeah, beautiful two-tier deck area back here. We can't take any credit for this. The previous owners, Aaron and Willie, put this on, and they just did a beautiful job with it. It's the composite decking, and you come out from the kitchen. We've got this nice big dining space, and then you've got 3 steps down to the living area, and there's a nice TV cabinet. Then we have TV out here, and these are all lighted umbrellas, and it is just the most serene and soothing space at the end of the day. It's just so nice back here. I absolutely love this area. It's so nice. And so I had planted along our little area here just a real skinny border, some green hostas, and this year I pulled out some of the green hostas and put them in the other beds to make room for these cannas, and they're doing really great and they're multiplying. I have to ask when I go to the garden center, should I deadhead these blooms on this cannas? I don't know, they're such a beautiful structure, but I don't know if I deadhead them if they'll bloom again. Look at how pretty those flowers are. So beautiful. And then back around here, we have just a little skinny space here. And our neighbor's fence here on the left, the one post is leaning in a little bit. And so I'm not sure if that's fixable or not, but we're not going to mess with it. Instead, I have 2 9-foot trellises from Gardener Supply that I ordered last year that I'm going to put in here and grow maybe honeysuckle or something. I don't know, but I really think that that's another project that I want to get in the ground this year. So I have sometime in the month of August, I want to get these 2 big trellises in here, and I think that's going to disguise that one post that's bowing in, and it'll kind of add some interest along here, because unfortunately underneath this mulch is stones. There was just the previous owners they didn't have anything planted here, so they just had rocks in here, like, you know, landscape stones. So it'll be a little bit of a pain to plant in there. I just put mulch on top to make it look neat and clean. So then out through this gate, we're back around to the side where we have just our little sidewalk. And again, we only own about a foot off of this. We have this little courtyard here. And we come down back to that side of the porch, which is a little bit of a no man's land right now. I had been thinking about putting the trellises here, but I don't think I want to do that now. I think I want to do some sort of shrubs here. So I have to give this some thought. When I go to the garden center, I have to think about what could I put in here as well as out here to kind of finish up. But this area has been just a little bit of a void in my creativity. I've not been able to really figure out exactly what I want to do with this area. So we're back around the front here. I'm going to end the tour by taking you up onto the front porch, which I love our front porch. I sit out here all the time, and it is just so relaxing. We have a gate here so that the dogs can come out, and most of the time when I'm home, this front door is open so that the breezes can come through the house and the dogs can come in and out. And I have just a wonderful little settee there, and my plants, and the nice sound of the wind chimes. And when I'm sitting in this settee, I can hear the water from both the fountains, the one in the front and the one in the side, right down there. And it is so soothing. I mean, I can't tell you how much enjoyment we get from this porch. And it's just such a pretty view down across our neighbors' porches, and that tree on the other side of their porch is beautiful white blossoms in the spring and early summer. It's just so pretty. And just looking out across the street, it's just really so enjoyable. Our hanging baskets that I'm trying to limp along. I got this beautiful geranium from my mother and father-in-law for Mother's Day this year. I absolutely love it. And I think I'm just going to be able to bring it inside and keep it as a houseplant this year. And that's going to be a fun experiment. And then the last thing I have out here is this beautiful orchid. It was a gift from one of my agents when we moved our office from Wilkes-Barre to Kingston 2 years ago. And this is the first year I was able to get it to rebloom. After, when he gave it to me, it was blooming, of course. But it's the first time I've been able to get it to blossom, so I was very excited about that. And up here is the wreath where we had the mama robin build this nest and lay her eggs in there this spring. We had 3 beautiful little baby robins. It was so fun. And that is our front porch. Alright guys, that's the whole tour. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed taking you around and talking to you about what we've done and the things that we're looking forward to doing. I hope that you'll join me in my next videos and do some of these little projects that are immediate, and maybe take you along to some of my favorite garden centers and go shopping for some plants, which I love to do that. Alright guys, thanks so much for joining me, and I am looking forward to sharing with you in the future. Have a great day. Bye.